29. Here we are with your second living room lessons. I hope the first one went well for you, and I hope you managed to get as much out of it as if you had me stood in front of you in the classroom. We're moving on to our second one today, and it's going to be a bit shorter. That first one was really long. I don't know why it was so long, but the rest will definitely be a bit shorter. But what you will need for today is your exercise book, pen and a ruler, your phone again, and the online retail graph sheet. This is optional and I will explain when you get to it, but some of you will definitely want to have this printed out, okay? So, as per usual, we are going to be doing a little jog your memory. So, first one is something from last lesson, define threshold. Second one, which of the following is a short-term response to hazards? And then the last one is another map skills question, okay? So what direction is the church from the viewpoint? And again, the picture of the map will be on the QR code or the link when you click it, okay? So make sure you follow that to find the map that you need to answer that question. So pause your phones now, scan the QR code, put your name in, full name. Please don't just write your first name because there's a million Ollies in your year group. So it'd be really helpful if you put your full name so we can track who is doing these. Hopefully you've had a go at that. What we are coming on to today. So last lesson we were having a big look at a load of different types of retail. We were looking at retail on high streets and in shops, actual physical shops, and we learned lots of key terms. And what we are going to be thinking about today is the kind of shopping I'm sure you lot are very familiar with, and the kind that throughout this period of self-isolation I've become very, very familiar with. I do know the DHL delivery man by first name basis now, but that's another story. So what we are going to be talking about today is online shopping. So we're going to have a think about how online shopping has impacted, why it's increased, what are the benefits, what are the negatives of it. So if you could write the title in today, which is online shopping, underline it with a ruler, and we will get started now. So I'm spoiling you here. You've actually got two quizzes on today's lesson because what I want to do is a bit of a recap on what we did last lesson. So we're going to do a bit of a true or false. So there are 6 true or false questions about stuff we looked at last lesson. What I want you to do is pause your videos again in a moment and scan this QR code, which will take you to a different quiz, okay? And again, I want you to put your full names in. Full names, okay? Have a go at this quiz. If you haven't got the QR scanner, which most smartphones do have, we are going to go through the questions in a moment as well. So pause your phone, have a go at this, have some fun, all right? Okay, I'm sure you had lots of fun doing that. So what we're going to do is go through the answers. So retail parks tend to be found in the CBD. Is this true? Is this false? That one is false, okay? CBD, we tend to find our retail parks on the outskirts of towns. CBD retail areas have mainly comparison goods. So those goods that you shop around for, they're a little bit more expensive. They're not just supermarket goodies. That one is true. Rent for shops are highest in the CBD. That one is also true. So it's cost the most money to rent a retail space in the centre of a city compared to in the suburbs. Retail parks have good access by public transport. That one is false. Generally, you need a car to be able to access retail parks. You can get buses sometimes, but it's much easier if you've got a car. Retail areas in the CBD are often congested. We know that one is true. It's often very, very busy in the centre of a city compared to on the outskirts. And it is cheap and easy to park near retail areas in the CBD. That one is false. It is very expensive to park in the CBD, but it's often free if you're out at the retail parks, okay? So hopefully that's a good recap for you. So what we're going to be thinking about now is, I know you all probably have done some online shopping before, I know I've done a lot of it, is I want you to have a think about nearly fell over. I want you to have a think about what you can buy, what you can order, what you can book online these days, because believe me when I say I ain't that old, but when I was your age we couldn't do much online. It was very, very limited, whereas now you can pretty much do anything. So it's up to you how you do this. You can either do it as a bit of a mind map, and I want you to come up with maybe 6 different things that you can order, book, buy online, or you can just do it as a little list like this. So physical items that you can actually buy and services that you can actually book. So pause your screens now and have a go at this for me. So over here I've written out 6 things that I thought of in that time that you can either buy or you can order online. Now believe me when I say, when I was your age you couldn't do half of these things online. You had to go to a physical shop. So buying jeans, doing a food shop, buying furniture, that you can all do online now. But you can also book to do things. So you could book gig tickets, you could book a holiday. Imagine back in the day when you used to have to go into a travel agent to be able to book a holiday. I can't remember the last time I did that. I always book online. And theme park tickets, tickets for amusements. You can buy everything online these days. It's quite incredible how much you can buy online. But obviously this is going to have a bit of an impact on our high street and on the shops on the high street. So next thing I want us to have a think about is why the amount of online shopping, not why, how much the amount of online shopping has increased. So what we've got here is a little table. We've got 2011, 12, 13, 14. And what we've got down the side is the amount of food ordered online in £1 million. So these are £1 million, that's a lot of money. Things from department stores, so like clothes, furniture, etc. And then we have textiles, clothing, footwear, so all that stuff that you probably all do online, and then we have the total amount. Also got some facts here. So in 2014, 74% of people bought goods online. So 74% of all people in the UK had bought something online. In 2008, that number was only 53%. So over 6 years, that increased by nearly a quarter. 50% of all browsing and purchasing was done on a mobile device. So because we have smartphones now where you can do pretty much anything, I've got, for example, I have Amazon Prime on my phone, and throughout this lockdown, I've constantly been like, oh, I want a puzzle, oh, I want a book, oh, I want a new desk so I can work at home. And I just ordered all of that on Amazon straight on my phone and it was delivered the next day. It's so easy to buy things online, and phones have made that even easier. So what I want you to quickly think about is, with this data here, what might be a good way to display this data? So if we were to have this data, obviously a table is kind of useful. You can start to see patterns, but are there better ways that we could display this in order to make it more easy to read? So let's just all pause for a moment. Don't pause the phones, let's just pause and think. I'm sure right now you're all shouting at the phone, you're all shouting different things at me. How would you display this data? Good, good, good. Yeah, well done. And now I'll show you my idea. So a good way to show this might be using a line graph. So on our line graph, what we've got along the bottom are the years, and then going up the side, we have got the weekly online sales, okay? We've got 3 different keys because we're going to be using our 3 different things. So food, department stores, and clothing. And we're going to plot these. So I have done the first one for you. So I have done food. So food is this blue line here. So from 2011 to 2014, we can see that it has increased. It's increased from 74.4 million to 109.2 million. So there has been an increase in the amount of food people are buying online. What I would like you to do next is an option, not optional, but you need to decide one of 2 tasks. So you can either just use this data to describe how these patterns have changed. So if you're describing how they have changed, what has it done? Has the amount of shopping increased? Has it amount online shopping increased or decreased? Which of our 3 categories has it increased by the most? Okay. Or you could have a go at doing this graph. So attached to the email is this layout. I've done the hard work for you. All you need to do is plot on the other 2 lines. So you need to plot on, with a key in 3 different colours, the 3 different changes in online retail. And once you've done that graph, I would also like you to have a go at describing it. So pick your task now. You can see here, the first one, just describing, I said, is if you're a target grade of kind of 1 to 5. If you're a target grade of 6 or above, I would be expecting you to do this table, but it is completely up to you what one you do. So pause your phones now and have a go at one or both of these activities. Right, so if we were describing how online retail has changed, the first pattern that we would pick out here is that the amount of people shopping online has increased. We could even use some data in that and say that it has increased from an average spend of a weekly online spend of 483 million to 718 million. So it's nearly doubled the amount of money per week spent online shopping. We could also then look at our 3 different examples here and pick out which one has increased the most. So we can probably, this is where I should have done this before. Yes. So we would say that the biggest increase has been in food. Obviously it's got the largest total, but you need to look at the increase between these. So the biggest increase has been in spending on food, okay? Hopefully you've all got this lovely graph, we've got some lovely descriptions there for me. But what I want us to have a think about now is why online retail has grown. Why are more people now shopping online as opposed to 15 years ago, all right? So on the board are three, do you love that I call the TV the board, by the way? It still makes me laugh every time. On the TV, we have got 4 different reasons why online retail has grown. These first 2 here, you are just filling in the blanks. So think what words might be in there and fill in those blanks for me. And these 2, I want you to explain why. So easy to do because. Why is it easy to do? You can compare prices, so why does the fact you compare prices mean people are more likely to do online shopping? So pause your phones, I want you to do a little subheading of why online retail has grown, and you should then have 4 bullet points underneath it with these 4 different reasons here, okay? Okie dokie, let's go through the answers. So people who work outside of 9 to 5 hours can get products easily, both day or night. So if you are someone who works strange hours and you get home at 9 o'clock when all the shops are shut, you can still order online and get things delivered at a time convenient to you. Those with accessibility issues, so those who are disabled, those who have pushchairs, can still enjoy shopping, so they can do it from home. It's easy to do because it's delivered straight to your door. You don't have to leave the house, okay, which is half the joy of it. And you can compare prices, so you know you are getting the best price for the items you are buying. So you know that you're going to be able to buy things at an affordable price. You can really compare them, all right? So what I want us to have a think about now, we're going to start to come on to the impacts now. So what are the problems with more and more people doing online shopping? So what I would like you to do in your books is draw me 2 speech bubbles, and one is going to be for a business owner who has an antique shop in Brighton, and then the other one is for a person who lives 30 miles away from the nearest town. And I want you in your speech bubbles to write why online shopping has either benefited or had a negative impact on this group of people. The key thing is to say why. So why has it had an impact on a business owner who has a small antique shop in Brighton and a person who lives 30 miles away from a town? So pause your phones now and have a go at these 2 speech bubbles. Okay, so for our business owner, it's obviously going to have a negative impact because if he is selling antiques, they are generally, I always get those words mixed up, generally going to be unique items that people need to go and see. He's not going to have an online base, so it's going to be negative for the business owner because people are more likely to buy things online on eBay, and he's going to have less footfall coming into his shop. Whereas for the person who lives 30 miles away from a town, it's going to be quite positive for them because it means that they're not having to spend a large amount of money on petrol in order to go and buy the basic goods. If they live 30 miles from a supermarket, that's a lot of time out of each of their week in order to go and do a food shop. Whereas if they can get it delivered, that completely cuts that time down for them. So we can see there are pros and cons of online shopping, and I want us to think about that in a bit more detail. So in your books now, I would like you to copy out this table with positives and negatives at the top, and social, economic and environmental. To recap what those words mean, if it is social, it has an effect on people. If it's economic, there are financial effects, so to do with industry, to do with people's own finances, to do with employment, etc. And if it's environmental, there are effects on the planet, on our natural landscape. Once you've made a copy of this table, you are now going to be sorting these different impacts of online shopping into whether they are positive and negative, and whether they are social, economic and environmental. So you're going to copy these into your table. You might find that there are 2 in one of the boxes, that's fine, okay? You might find that one of them kind of fits in 2 boxes, that's also fine. So pause your phones now and make a copy of this into your positive, negative, social, economic and environmental table. Right, let's go through our answers on these. So we'll start with our positives. So positives of online retail, that people use less time and they can compare items easily. Those are social because it's to do with people's time. They're going to have more time in their life. Economic, online shops can increase their profit through reaching more customers. So they're going to be able to make more money because they don't, not only do they have shops on the high street, but they also have people shopping online. And it's for the people, it's easier to find the best deal because you can compare your items. You're going to make sure that you're paying the lowest amount of money for an item. So people are going to have more disposable income. In terms of environmental, if more people are shopping online, there's going to be less cars on the road. And if there's less cars on the road, that means less air pollution. But moving on to our negatives, a social effect is you are unable to feel the quality of the items. You might end up buying something, and then, I know I've done this before, never trust Boohoo. You buy something online, it gets delivered, and it feels rubbish. You don't know the quality. That's why things like jeans, I always like to go buy in a shop, because you never know how they're going to fit. You never know the quality. Economic is high street shops have less footfall, so there's going to be less people on the high street if they can just buy it online, which means they're going to have less profit. So that's why we often have shops closing down in the high street, which is our next lesson. And environmental, because there are more things being delivered, there's going to be more shipping, there's going to be more transportation, there's going to be more heavy goods vehicles, which means there's more air travel. So whilst we're saying there's less cars on the road, there are going to be more vehicles on the road because you're going to have more delivery vans, all right? So it's kind of a catch-22. You do get less pollution, but then you also get a bit more pollution. You get more air travel. So swings and roundabouts on that one, all right? So the last thing we are going to have a think about today is we are going to do another exam question, but this time you're just going to plan it. You're not going to write out a full question. So the exam question we're thinking about, it is an 8-marker this time. So if you remember rightly, our 8 markers, you will nearly always have a statement or a question that you have to give 2 points of view on. So our question is, the positive effects of online retail outweigh the negative effects. How far do you agree with this statement? So what you have to do to answer one of these questions, first of all, is you need to think about what the 2 sides of the argument are. So reasons why this statement is true, reasons why you agree, and reasons why you think this statement is false, reasons why you might disagree. So this is effectively, these are the positives of online retail, why online retail is good, and these are the negatives, why online retail is not so good. So we've just done that, so that should be really fresh for you. So what I want you to do is make a copy of this plan and come up with 2 or 3 or however many reasons you want as to why online shopping is good and why it is bad. Once you've done that, you're not writing an exam as say, you are just planning a question. So bullet points in there, short notes. Then I want you to have a think, right, now I've got my reasons for and my reasons against. Do I agree or disagree? What do I think? Do I think, yes, the positives are better than the negatives, or do I think actually the negatives are worse? So once you've decided if you agree or disagree, you need to say what percentage. Now it's really important in the exam questions because the examiners love to know how far you agree. How far do you agree with this statement? So if, for example, I had loads of positives on here and not that many negatives, I would probably say that overall I 80% agree with this statement. Whereas if I had loads of negatives, you might go the other way and say, overall, I only 30% agree with this statement because actually I think there are more negatives. So you need to then just write one sentence saying what percentage you agree with this statement. And then the last thing you need to do is a little why. So again, just bullet point notes, but this is kind of your conclusion if you were writing the essay. What are the reasons for why you might agree or disagree with this statement? Maybe you think that there are more economic reasons why it's bad than social reasons why it's good, and you think economic reasons are more important than the social reasons. Or maybe you think that there are more long-term effects from the reasons why it's bad, and actually long-term effects are less sustainable. So this is why I don't agree very much. So your conclusion needs to be an overall kind of summing up of why you either agreed or why you disagreed. It is not repeating everything you have already written. It is summing it all up into this is why I agree or this is why I disagree. So this is the last thing you're doing today. Pause your phones, make a copy of this table, have a go. I know this is one of the first times you've properly done an 8-mark plan, all right? If you have any questions, do email your teachers about this. I'm sure they'll be happy to help. So pause your phones now, make a copy of this and have a think about your plan, all right? Okay, we are at the end of today's lesson. As I said, hopefully that was shorter than your first lesson. They normally will be about 20 minutes long, okay? So what you should have in your books today is the things people might buy online in a mind map or in a list, the changes in online retail line graph and or description. So if you've done the line graph and the description or just the description, Reasons for the growth of online retail, so 4 bullet points telling us why it has increased. Impacts of retail on 2 groups of people, so those 2 speech bubbles. The impacts of online retail table, and the 8-mark question plan. Okay, well done. We've got to the end of our second video. Hopefully you have found this useful. Next time I see you, we are going to be having a look at how online retail has had an impact on the high street and on high street shops closing down. So I will see you next time. Keep being brilliant. Bye bye, year 9.